Welcome back, everybody, to round 8.
Round 8, yeah.
This is round 8 of SCG Regional Championships here in Chicago, Illinois. I'm your host, Andrew Donnelly. With me, my co host, Matthew Robert Dow. And Matt, I know we had a little problems with that Mono Blue Devotion deck just clocking our stream just
Yeah,
right out the park. It was so good it shut our
yeah.
stream down.
Unfortunately, it lost as a spoiler. Um,
What,
so,
what do we have going on now? We've
uh,
got.
so we have two 6-1 players here.
Okay.
We have Alex Preisig on the left playing red-white Monastery Mentor deck.
Yep.
So, the card you wanted to see.
That was one card I wanted to see for sure.
And then we have Calhoun on the right playing Mono Red.
Awesome. So, wow, two really aggressive decks, making it 6-1 this far into the into close to the end here of our regular standard.
Yeah.
Before the cut to top 8.
Props to Caleb for a nice looking cardigan there. Looks pretty comfortable. So a lot of good players still live to top 8 this event.
Yep.
I know I saw Kent Ketter, Jeff Hoogland, Peter Tragos, you name it. Those guys all still at the top tables, all X and 1, I believe.
Sure.
So
Looks like they're ready to fire it off here. Get that timer started, and let's see where these two players can go.
looks like Caleb's going to be on the play, which is where he wants to be. He's got these pimped out mountains here. Gonna cast a turn 1 Fire Drinker Satyr and ship the turn back to Alex, who's going to play a Temple of Triumph Scry. Alex got a pretty decent hand here. Got a couple of lands. Looks like a couple of spells. Should be able to cast everything. I'm going to ship that to the bottom. The real question is does he have some interaction, early interaction?
You'd hope so when facing down Jackal Pup 2.0.
Yeah.
Pumpable Jackal Pup, you want that interaction.
Yeah. So Caleb is going to attack and get in there for 2. And play another one.
Boy.
And ship the turn back.
This is really a deck, too, where I feel like running out multiple satyrs here doesn't hurt you as much.
Oh, no, certainly not. I mean, unless Alex is going to cast Scouring Sands here and you get 2 for 1,
Yeah.
that's the only situation.
Well, you get 2 for 1 and shot for 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Alex just going to chooses to do nothing. Has a Lightning Strike in hand, which I imagine Caleb is going to play around here by casting a Hordling Outburst as opposed to one of the Goblin Rabble Masters in his hand. But we'll see.
Props to Caleb on beautiful mountain selection, too.
Yeah, they're pretty nice, and
Yeah.
so far everything is uniform, which is appealing to me.
I guess.
So he is going to cast a Rabble Master into open mana, and yeah, Alex is going to just Lightning Strike that, and then attack for 4. So I like casting Hordling Outburst there over the Rabble Master, especially into open mana. But see what Alex is going to cast his own Hordling Outbursts, and those 1/1 Goblins are going to do a pretty good job of road blocking these Fire Drinker Satyrs.
I was about to say, I kind of like that play from Alex, taking sort of a back seat to the more aggressive deck. Let your opponent burn his own hand out first before really progressing threats onto the board.
Yeah, so but unfortunately for Alex, it looks like Caleb's going to cast his own Hordling Outburst. I think I probably would have just played a Rabble Master there to get a little bit of value out of it, but Caleb chooses instead to just cast his own Hordling Outburst and then ship the turn back to Alex. So Alex draws another land, which probably unfortunate for the deck playing, a few lands, but there's a pretty good one for Alex. This is a one of him in his deck, and it's a Soulfire Grandmaster, and it's a 2/2 lifelinker that then gives all of his spells lifelink, and it looks like he has a Stoke the Flames in hand, so pretty good card for
Very
Alex
solid.
to have in this matchup.
Now, if you're Alex, do you target one of the satyrs with the stoke, knowing that the damage will still be translated to Caleb, and you'll remove a creature, and you'll still gain the
It
life?
depends on what happens here. It looks like Alex is going to Searing Blood this, or Caleb's going to Searing Blood this, and then now Alex is going to Stoke, and yeah, I imagine he's going to Stoke a Fire Drinker Satyr. So it's going to be a 8-point life swing, which is quite significant. Alex is going to take 3 after that, go to 15. Caleb still doesn't have really great attacks, but he is going to be able to play a Rabble Master here. So he's out of cards, so if Alex can answer the board, he should be pretty well set.
It looks like he does have the card. One of my white picks there was Monastery Mentor. Is that
Yeah,
what he's
sure
got in
enough.
hand right now?
Yep. And
Beautiful.
Alex is just going to take 4. Go to 11.
Wild Slash, too. Good backup.
Yeah, Wild Slash is really good, especially with Monastery Mentor. So Alex run pretty well here. So there's a Monastery Mentor. And then he's able to play a tap land here. So he's going to kill the Rattle Master. Yeah, well, Alex is looking pretty well set up to handle this board. He can block, just trade with all the creatures and still have two cards left over if that's what he chooses to do.
And maybe, maybe this is the deck that really plays better to the Monastery Mentor, the deck I was looking for. You forego the blue to have access to more red and white instant speed spells.
So Caleb is just going to play a Foundry Street Denizen and pass the turn back. And Alex definitely looking to stabilize here. He's got 2 cards in his hand. Looks like he's going to play a Temple of Triumph and hopefully find something good on top. But no, he's just going to ship it to the bottom. But yeah, any spell he has is just going to be great here. It's going to make an extra blocker. So, and probably Alex is just playing a bunch of cards that either deal damage or kill creatures. So able to kill a blocker and then gain a blocker. It's going to be pretty good. And now he's just going to play his own Rattle Master and attack, which I don't know. I mean, I guess it's fine. But it's a question of if we play this and we now have to attack with all of our goblins, are we going to just die on the crackback somehow?
It's possible. I mean, the damage from Caleb on board currently is not that threatening. And I feel like if Caleb lets this attack through and then decides he himself wants to swing, he's now put in the position where does he die on the backswing?
Sure.
Especially because the Monastery Mentor and these monk tokens do have prowess.
Yeah.
So one relevant spell from Alex and things can go downhill pretty quickly. It looks like Caleb chooses not to block.
Yeah.
He's going to just drop to 12.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. But yeah, Caleb definitely I think flooding out here, which is unfortunate, and it's really difficult for these mono red decks to come back. But we'll see. I think Searing Blood is probably Caleb's best draw. Able to kill a creature and then also bolt the face. So looks like Caleb is doing some math, but he decides to just pass back, which is great news for Alex. Got in a free attack and Drew Stoke the Flames. So that's 4 damage to the face and then another monk.
Yep.
So I imagine if Alex made that attack once, he's just going to run it back and make the same attack. So if our opponent didn't block once, and now he's going all in. No, okay, he's already going all in, trying to kill him.
Let's turn him sideways.
Feeling a little confident there now that he has the Stoke.
Do we know Caleb's one card in hand?
I don't know the card that Caleb has in hand. But it looks like he's going to trade 2 goblins for a Rattle Master, which I think you're fine with. And then
Is Alex debating the
6.
Stoke?
I don't think he can. I just trade my Rattle Master.
If he stokes him, we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage, leaving Caleb at 1.
So right now he has 5, 6, so he'd only be doing 7 damage. 11, yeah, leaving him at 1, unfortunately. Although the prowess trigger, 6, 5...
That's what
yeah,
I was kind of
7,
calculating,
yep,
yeah.
Yep, so still at 1.
I mean, had he gone in with the Monastery Mentor, I don't think it would have changed much.
No, I imagine Caleb would have blocked a little bit differently then.
Yeah.
So Caleb does have another mountain in hand, unfortunately, which, once again, flooding out with this red deck is always just miserable. And then he has a Hordling Outburst, too, which is going to provide him with some blockers, which is nice. But Alex has 7 creatures, and Caleb's going to have 7 creatures.
This makes the Foundry Street Denizen kind of a threat.
Yeah, it makes him a 4/4. But if he attacks, I just take the damage and go to 7, I'd imagine. So we'll see. Looks like Alex is lining up attack. So Alex, if he wants, can stoke the... So I think the play here is probably stoke the Firedringer Satyr, which is essentially still dealing 4 damage, and then just block the Foundry Street Denizen with your guy and untap and kill him. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't...
Or just even
is that
just
the
take
order?
the damage.
Yeah.
So he's going to stoke him, put him down to 2, and then I don't even... He probably doesn't even have to block.
No.
he can probably just take the 4.
Drops himself down. Produces a monk off
Yeah,
Monastery
right.
Mentor. Now has, I mean, any top deck here is also very good for Alex.
Yeah, no,
have
I
to
think
imagine.
he has. There's 5 blockers to 8 attackers. So yeah, he just turns them all sideways. Provided Caleb has nothing, which he doesn't. He's just dead.
I think that was well played by Alex.
Yeah,
Really,
definitely.
really good show of combat math. I
Yeah.
mean, really strong.
He also drew really well too.
Yes.
And his opponent, his red deck, Wynn's opponent, did not draw very well. Drew a lot of lands, which is not what you want when you're playing these aggressive red decks.
So before we go into the sideboards here, are you expecting pretty similar cards in the sideboard, or do you think that Alex will have taken a more, I guess, a different approach to, since he has access to the white, he can kind of play some of those tricky cards from Fate Reforged to really benefit the Monastery Mentor. I know there's tap down target creature draw card at instant speed, things like that. You know, the combat tricks that he can play.
While those are sweet, I don't think he's going to be playing them. I
Sure.
think if he was playing any one of those like 1-mana cantrips, the best one is Defiant Strike, and I
Yeah.
don't see it in his list. So if he's not playing that, I can't imagine he's playing any more of the more gimmicky ones.
Okay. So what's in his sideboard?
So Alex has in his sideboard 1 Soulfire Grandmaster, 1 Searing Blood, 2 Arc Lightning, 1 Valorous Stance, 2 Hushwing Gryph, 2 Erase, 2 Glare of Heresy, 2 Brimaz King of Ereskos, and 2 Stormbreath Dragons.
Okay.
So cards I really like here, and I think just are completely insane. Soulfire Grandmaster I think is pretty good,
Yep.
not completely insane. Brimaz King of Ereskos I think is completely ridiculous against these decks.
Agreed.
And if he can get one of those out, I imagine it's just probably going to be game over for Caleb. Other cards I like, Searing Blood is really good. And Art Like Me is also pretty good. I mean, Caleb is playing, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Caleb has 12 creatures that have 1 toughness. He has Hordling Outburst that has, makes a bunch of 1 toughness guys, and then Rebel Master, which Arc Lightning lines up perfectly with. So I imagine all those cards are coming in. And I imagine some slower things like Outpost Siege and Sarkins and Valorous Stances and stuff like that are going to come out. As for Caleb, he has a Perforos God of the Forge, an Outpost Siege, 4 Eidolon of the Great Revel, 2 Sarkin the Dragon Speaker, a Temple of Epiphany, 2 Peak Eruptions, 2 Arc Lightnings, a Wild Slash, and a Searing Blood.
Now, Peak Eruption is a card I like. Maybe not necessarily in this match because we didn't see any Chain of the Rocks, but the potential that Alex could play that card, Peak Eruption is a very strong card.
Yeah, I definitely like Peak Eruption. I'm bringing it in. He's playing a mountain, and he was playing mountains red-white. I gotta figure he's on Chain to the Rocks.
Sure.
I'm bringing it in, and even if I don't, it's still it's still another one of like those Searing Blood-esque cards where it's blow up a mountain and then still deal you damage.
Yep.
So I like that card. Arc Lightnings I like also for the same reasons that I liked them out of Alex's deck. Is they can kill Monastery Mentor, they can kill Monastery Mentor and a token, they can kill Rabble Master and a token, they can kill Seeker of the Way, they kill pretty much all of Alex's creatures.
Caleb's got interesting reach in his sideboard in the form of 4 Eidolon of the Great Revel, a card we saw a lot of when it was originally released, and then it kind of fell out of favor. Now with these blue-white heroic lists and even this red-white aggro list, that card seems really good.
Yeah, I think I would actually probably bring some number of them in here. Alex doesn't have any cards in his deck that get around it, aside from 2 Sarkins, which, as I explained before, I think we're probably boarding out. So if he can land an Eidolon, he's just going to keep getting value off of it, unless Alex is able to remove it, but he's still going to get some value off of it. So I like bringing those in. Plus, they're another creature that just doesn't die to an Arc Lightning horribly. So it's not like you're going to get 3 for 1 by an Arc Lightning with it. So probably bringing those in. Probably bringing in the Arc Lightnings, the Wild Slashes, the Searing Bloods. Caleb also has Outpost Sieges. I imagine those are coming out. So, but looks like Game 2 is about to start here. Caleb is going to be on the draw. He looks like he has 3 mountains in his hand. So I imagine this is keep from Caleb. Yep. Caleb is going to keep. Looks like Alex is also going to keep, so we're underway. There is a turn 1 Foundry Street Denizen for Caleb. He's going to pass it back to Alex, who is going to draw a Chain to the Rocks. Play a mountain and pass it back to Caleb. So Alex does have a Searing Blood in his hand and a Chain to the Rocks, although I don't know if he has a white source. There's a Monastery Swift Spear. And Caleb is going to attack in for 3. Alex is going to draw through a Monastery Mentor. Plays a another mountain, but yeah, I don't think Alex has a white source in his hand, which is not good for him. Looks like he kept a 2-lander with 2 mountains. Caleb drew an Arc Lightning. So, see what Caleb's plan is here. I think he has a Rabble Master, but I imagine if that card gets no, so he has an Arc Lightning. I'm not sure what else. So, looks like he's going to send in. Alex is going to Searing Blood, so he does have the planes in his hand. Yeah, so he's going to Lightning Strike.
Okay.
Lightning Strike the Foundry Street Denizen, which is interesting. And then take 1. Alright. And Caleb is just going to pass back. So, Alex is going to play a Plains and then cast a Hordling Outburst.
I like that play.
I like that play too. Allows us to play around a removal spell. If we just play the Mentor there, we kind of get blown out by, a removal spell, such as the Searing Blood that Caleb just drew. So Caleb tapped 3 mana, playing an Art Lightning, which, card lines up very well against Whirling Outburst. Going to attack in for 2 with our Monastery Swiftspear. So, but this is a great time for Alex if he has like a Searing Blood in his hand to Searing Blood this Mentor, or this Swiftspear, and I think he might.
Seeker the Way is a good play also.
So,
the lifelink there, pretty strong against the decks like Caleb's, though we know he's got what appeared to be just a truckload of removal in his hand.
Yeah. So he drew a Stoke the Flame, so he has Stoke the Flames. He drew a Mountain for the turn. I believe he also does have the Searing Blood. So we'll see how he wants to line this up.
Interesting note, Caleb also in his hand, Outpost Siege.
Yeah,
I believe.
This is weird. I don't know how great it is in this matchup, but I guess it's fine in that the Dragon's mode, I think, would deal 1 damage.
Yep, to target creature or player when one of your creatures leaves the battlefield.
Right, yeah. So I think that's probably actually pretty good.
We saw a game between Matt Hausler and I think Justin Brickman where that card was very good. Interesting.
Yeah, so this is just going to get absolutely blown out. Alex is going to get blown out here. I would have. I feel like that's just super greedy from him. I just like killing that when we had a chance last turn while our opponent was tapped out.
Yeah.
But Alex neglected not to. So, but our guy is still going to die because he did it with the Prowess trigger on the stack. So I guess it's not that awful.
I don't know if I like losing the Seeker. I feel like that card against a mono red deck is very good.
It's going to die either way in this situation. So I think Alex is going to cast a Monastery Mentor here. Nope, Goblin Arrowmaster.
Okay. I'm actually alright with this card, too.
Yeah, and Caleb looks at a hand of Outpost Siege and Stoke the Flames, and neither of those cards line up all that well with Rattlemaster, but Caleb did draw a Searing Blood, so I imagine this Rattlemaster is not long for this world. Sure enough, Caleb's Searing Blood's the Rattlemaster and ships it back. So Alex could really use some Soulfire Grandmaster Seeker of the Way here to gain some life.
Yeah.
Because he's within double Stoke the Flames range right now. And there's a Monastery Mentor for Alex.
He's been holding that card for a while.
Yeah. But he doesn't really have any spells in his hand that he can use to make some Prowess Monks, unfortunately for him. So Caleb draws another land, and looks like he's going to play an Outpost Siege here, and I imagine he's going to name the Chandra ability. So the Zero.
Sure.
Exile a card, cast it.
Now, what does Alex need to draw that is relevant? What does he look? He's
Wild
got a
Slash
Wild
isn't
Slash
bad.
right now. That's okay.
So yeah, he's going to send in for 3, put Caleb down to 15. So trigger on the Outpost Siege. That's a mountain.
And a Lightning Strike.
Yeah, that's a Lightning Strike. So Caleb was 1 point of burn away from killing Alex. So Alex really needs to find a way to kill Caleb. Interesting, Caleb just passes back, and Alex also just passes. Doesn't chooses not to Wild Slash, but looks like he's probably going to try to line up a large. He's going to play another Monastery Mentor and then Wild Slash on his opponent's next turn and hope to be alive.
It's a real dangerous play from Alex.
Yeah, well, I don't think he really has any other options. But he's going to go to 4, and then Caleb is going to trigger the Outpost, reveal a Searing Blood, which is going to, I believe,
kill him with Lightning Strike in hand, correct?
Yeah, no, I think he's fine. So he's going to line up a Searing Blood, and Alex can Wild slash this here, which is what the play should be. So he's going to wild slash it.
Yes.
Which is the correct line.
Get 2 monks in the process.
Yeah, 2 monks, and that's going to fizzle that. So he's not going to take the 3 damage. And then Caleb just has the one. So yeah, that guy's dead. Okay. So Caleb just has a lightning strike here. Another outpost siege. So now he's drawing 2 cards per turn.
Wow.
So let's see. Alex has 6 power on board right now, and every spell he casts is worth 4. So if he can cast 2 spells, which he cannot, he has 2 Chain to the Rocks. Unfortunately, Caleb has no targets. So he's going to cast 1 Chain to the Rocks.
Targeting his own.
I believe he needs. I believe they need a target. No, I believe they need a target. What does Chain to the Rocks read?
Let's look up Chain to the Rocks.
Yeah, I believe we should stop the match. And I believe they need a target. Change to the Rocks.
We'll get a check on Chain to the Rocks here. When Chain to the Rocks enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Chain to the Rocks
Correct.
leaves the battlefield.
Yeah, so we should stop the match.
We shall do that.
That is.
Matt's going to go outside, talk to our spotter on the table, figure out what's going on, and make sure the guys understand the rules here. We did look up Chain to the Rocks. It reads 1 white, enchantment, or enchant a mountain you control. When Chain to the Rocks enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Chain to the Rocks leaves the battlefield. So Alex did not actually have the legit targets to cast those Chain to the Rocks, as he was targeting his own creatures. So we're kind of at a loss here. Some people are saying he could cast it. Some people are saying he could not cast it.
Yeah. So when I went out there, Alex explained to me that the first part of the text on the card is enchant a mountain you control.
Correct.
And then after that, so you've already cast the spell enchanting a mountain.
Yes.
And then he was arguing that when the Chain to the Rocks enters the battlefield,
yes,
then you have to exile target creature. So it's like enchant a mountain you control is the first part, and then trigger. Exile a creature you control. So I think he's right, and he is able to cast it.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a judge ruling, and that is the case. So
awesome.
That is pretty crazy. You only need a mountain you control. You learn something new every day.
There you go. So, as Twitch chat has also informed us.
So thank you to the Twitch chat. That's why I'm not a judge.
That is why you are not a judge. But you
good
are a commentator. And that is okay.
It's a good thing we got a judge, though, to
definitely
come in and rule, because this is a pretty high-profile game for these guys. They're playing to go to 7-1 and possibly draw into top 8.
Yep. Yeah, that you always want to be sure when things like that happen that you're keeping on the up and up as far as rulings go. I mean, it's definitely ways where that can happen, and even looking at the card, I mean, you have things like Oblivion Ring. I mean, there's a million card suspension field.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was templated like Oblivion Ring. I thought it was, just like a sort of like a Swords to Plowshares.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't know it had an enter the battlefield ability trigger. But I think that's just because, nobody ever plays it like that. Nobody's ever like, I'll cast Chain to the Rocks, target this mountain, trigger. Yeah, nobody ever says that. They're like, I'll Chain to the Rocks this.
Prowess definitely kind of brings you into that weird situation where you kind of have those effects. You're just casting it to solely get that. I mean, the only deck I could really think of that does something similar is like Storm.
Yeah.
Cast spells to build Storm count, and that's it.
Right.
So that's good. At the end of this match, though, because we had we had a red-white mentor deck and we had the red deck wins. Can we go to our red standard card discussion?
Yeah, sure. Let's see if we had any of those cards in there.
We'll take a look. So this is our red version for the standard playmakers talk we've kind of been having in between rounds as this event has been progressing on. You can see at the top of the list there, you've got Sarkin, you've got Stormbreath Dragon, Stoke the Flames, and Hordeling Outburst. These are all of the cards that, percentile-wise, fundamentally see play in a lot of these red decks, whether it's mono-red aggro, like a mid-range aggro version. These are your top red cards. Below that, you can see picks that me and Matt did of cards that we'd like to see during this tournament. And Matt, we'll lead off with yours because yours are more interesting than mine, I feel. So you have, who is it, Alicia who smiles at death?
Yeah, so I think it's just a super interesting card. I know like people in tiny leaders are crazy about this card, which is a format I've never played and probably will never play.
Of course.
But I just think that, one, the card is cool. You can reanimate like Hornet Queen and stuff like that, so that's sweet.
Yep.
Plus I like the flavor behind it. If you have read any of the like Uncharted Realms that recently got posted about Alicia, like the story is pretty good. It's the first time that Wizards of the Coast has created a trans magic character.
Transsexual magic character.
Yeah,
which
so
is
like
really
I
cool.
think that's super progressive of Wizards,
Yep.
and I think it's really awesome. And if you haven't checked out the Uncharted Realms story about like Alicia and how she gets the name "Who Smiles at Death," you should definitely check it out because it's a really good story and it's pretty moving.
I'm a lore buff. I will tell you, even though I love the lore of Magic, I'm not very good at keeping up with the Fate Reforged stuff. I definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm behind there. So let's talk. What's the Fate Reforged story behind Mob Rule? Monkeys Gone Bananas?
No, this card is just
that
awesome.
what that is?
This card is nuts. And I was kind of hoping to see it in like a red-white devotion deck or a mono-red devotion deck.
Sure.
And I know there have been a couple of those floating around that I've seen lists of. And if you can cast this and that, like, this is just a card that says, "I'll take all of your creatures and hit you in the face with them."
So let's look up Mob Rule real quick for people who don't know. That's it's a sorcery, red, 4 colorless. Choose one. Gain control of all creatures with power 4 or greater until end of turn. Untap those creatures; they gain haste. Or gain control of all creatures with power 3 or less until end of turn. Untap those creatures; they gain haste. So it harkens back to the days of the commands. You kind of have these two different modes. Now you can only choose one instead of both. But both seem very good.
Yeah, I feel like if you're bringing this card in, sideboarding it in, and then you might wind up resolving it against I can't imagine you losing the game.
Sure.
And I see even on the Gatherer, it has a perfect 5 out of 5 star rating.
It does.
So that's mainly because it has 0 votes.
0 votes.
But, I don't know. It's pretty sweet, and
It is.
I watch people cast it in sealed and in limited, and yeah.
And I'm sure it's bonkers.
It's like nearly every Fate Reforged rare. It's pretty much a bomb and insane.
I'm a huge fan of active treasons in limited events and in just those type of events. Jeering Instigator is a limited card that I feel like I'm okay playing in certain situations. So I can see why that is a good closer. I mean.
Yeah, man.
You strip their attackers and use them against them, or strip their blockers, kind of situation. On my side, I kind of, I don't know. I took it real simple.
Yeah,
on
you
my
got a
side.
little bit more spiky cards than me.
Yeah, a little bit. So the first one was Flamewake Phoenix, and I know both you and I have seen that card do some damage. I mean, the card is very good.
Yeah.
Harkens back to the Chandra Phoenix, except this time we're casting it from the graveyard to play with haste. Let's get some action.
Right, yeah. I know we've seen it a couple of times on stream, and it's pretty crazy in like a Tamir deck. All those creatures pretty much have 4 toughness. I know recently it just, I think it was in a top 4 list from the SCG Premier IQ, in a Tamir list with like Frostwalker and Shaman of the Great Hunt.
Yep.
One card that just has 4 toughness is pretty insane. So
you're always bringing it back. And my other one was Tamir Battle Rage, and this is a card that I kind of picked up after building the red-white heroic list that had seen play at an open recently. Top 16, didn't manage to top 8, but was definitely an interesting card. Interesting enough, in fact, that I brought it up to Joe Lissette, and he is now building kind of a cool new standard brew with it based off of your favorite deck.
Yeah, the heroic deck.
You are correct.
Here's another card we have seen on stream today.
Adrian
Sullivan,
yes.
Got annihilated by this card.
Yes, he did.
Tamir Battle Rage is definitely an interesting one, and something I wanted to maybe try in a heroic deck, but I can't go. I don't have the lands to splash red. So I'm poor.
For sure. Well, I mean, like I said, keep an eye out for some of these cards. Just around good cards to take a look at. Cards we wanted personally to see today, and we kind of we kind of threw our hats in and tried to think up some cool things.
Yeah.
And I think it's, an Alicia deck would have been sweet. I think that's an awesome sideboard card for some decks.
Yeah, I think just maybe like a junk reanimator deck with her and Hornet Queen.
I mean, it's a way for Alex to bring back Miss Monastery
Monsters,
Mentor.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. All right, guys. Well, we've got 21 minutes left in round 8 currently.